If global legislations want us to go fully electric in a couple of years, then they better be good to drive. Hello everyone, my name is Ishan and welcome to the Race Monkey. I've been living with this, the BMW iX xDrive50, which has about 517 horsepower and seats 5 in absolute comfort. This X5 sized 5 meter long, 2.2 meter wide luxury electric SUV has perhaps become one of the most popular choices in the Indian elite. More so because the way it looks, it's pretty radical for a BMW, and this massive vertical kidney grille has attracted quite a lot of attention in good and bad ways. So in this video, I'll be talking about how the iX feels to drive, because I've been living for quite some time with this car, and before this I had the BMW i5 M60, which I took on a very long road trip. I drove that car for about 2300 kilometers for a very definitive review, which would be coming up on YouTube very soon. I've been posting about it quite a bit on my Instagram, and that's our car of the year, just by the way. So BMW's recipe to create radical and wonderfully driving electric cars is sort of helping them gain some sales. That's what I'm about to talk to you about today. It's also very cold today, so I have to get inside, start off my massaging seats, and just sort of leave. I'm Ishan Bhardwaj, and you're watching The Race Monkey.
Now, it will be a crime not to start off with the highway credentials of the iX. This car is great when you're driving it on the open roads. A proper all-electric grand tourer for the family. Besides being an SUV, it has quite a lot of credentials to make your long-distance trips comfortable. So, let's do it.
So when you're cruising the iX out on the highway, it's a very relaxing car to drive. It's not something which is bothersome with its weight all the time, or it's bouncing about a lot when there are undulations on the highway. Now, we are currently driving on the Dwarka Expressway, and perhaps not the smoothest expressway to drive on when you're doing triple digit speeds, and currently we are at 90 kilometers an hour, which is legitimately a much sane speed, to be honest, because there are some road works going on. But even still, with the air suspension that comes standard with the xDrive50 of the iX that's sold in India right now, after the xDrive40 that was sold about 2 years ago when this car was launched, it feels very well sorted out in terms of its ride and handling characteristic. Ride quality is one of the best in the electric car segments. Yes, we've got the likes of the EQE, which is a little more plush because of how it just clears off all the undulations on the road and doesn't let anything filter into the cabin. But on the contrary, that car is a little too heavy around the bends, and you don't really enjoy driving the EQE as much as you would enjoy driving the iX. The iX is like a go-kart that's meant for a family of 5 going on a road trip up to the mountains or on the highway, or you're just doing your A to B commute in the city and you want to do a quick dash to the mall. It's pretty good. It's very confidence-inspiring setup. Mechanically, this car is configured really well. All things are pretty ergonomic. While you're doing triple digit speeds, you don't feel that there are very confusing bits. Yes, the new iDrive Professional does have the air conditioning settings integrated into the touchscreen, but once you get used to it, you really don't feel that it is an intrusive function. Now, what I really truly like is the way the rotor dial for the iDrive has been set up right at the spot where you need it. It's a little high up, and you have this king's throne sort of a chair situation over here, and all the buttons are very well laid out. They're very ergonomic, very scientifically designed, and you don't feel fatigued when you are doing certain controls in the car or figuring out something or the other. Yes, it takes a day or two to learn them properly and about a week to get used to them properly over the period of time, you do get used to it and you do appreciate how simple everything is. Now, another great factor about how the AX has been designed is this flat top and flat bottom steering. Feels a little too racy for my liking. This is something out of perhaps a Ferrari or the current generation Koenigseggs. Doesn't feel very much in place in an iX, which is a luxury electric SUV from BMW. But when you're driving hard, this does come out to be a very grippy setup. You like how thick the thumb grips are on the steering. The steering itself is very thick and this leather is very soft to touch and hold. Pretty grippy as well. And you've got this two-spoke setup, which perhaps has become a very sporty, trendy thing now, which you and I appreciate a bit. A nice thought out cabin, especially when you're doing your long distance journeys. And you can do long distance journeys provided you drive it correctly. This car is capable of doing upwards of 600 kilometers in total range. Although BMW undervalues its own range numbers, as what we've seen in the BMW i5 M60, I think it's going to be a similar situation with the iX once you take it out on a long trip. Till then, it's all about city driving and more of using it as a daily driver, which is 95% of the use case of most luxury car buyers. Now, from the outside, the iX looks pretty stunning. To start off with, we've got this key over here, which is not a very smart key as you used to get in the previous generation 7 series and the 5 series, but it works really well. Now, when you unlock the car, it has this beautiful animation at the back which plays on the tail lamps, and it has this diffuser over here. Should be celebrated. It should be celebrated because it creates sort of a vortex at the back and really aids aerodynamics. I think this is quite a brilliant feature in an electric car these days. Really like it. Big 22-inch alloy wheels, which looks stunning in this xDrive50 variant that we get over here in India. And each and everything, just look at the fit and finish. Some people were sort of complaining about the compromises done to the fit and finish and how the rear fuel or EV flap is sort of misfit. I think it's pretty stunning. Everything over here, we've got the iX badging over here, the same, the way everything has been assembled and the fitting of everything is just fantastic. You've got these door handles over here. They're pretty good. And yes, it does get soft closed doors, just like any other luxury car. Now from the side, this does look quite imposing. It's a long car. Because it is shorter than the BMW X5, it does look pretty long indeed, and with those 22-inch alloy wheels, it's a stunning little thing. Now here in the front, now that might just give a bit of BYD seal vibes, these arrowed slashes over here, but it all started with the iX and then carried forward to the Chinese cars. Massive kidney grille in the front. Harks back to the BMW 2002 series from the 1960s. Looks brilliant in this shade of gold, perhaps. Really like how the lights have been integrated in a very slim assembly. Beautiful thing. And it's got these little graphics over here. And this is a self-healing grill. They say if you scratch it, or if someone tries to put stone chips on it or there are some sort of sharp things that get onto it, it will heal itself. Now let's get onto the inside of the car and sort of get used to the entire user experience inside the iX. Now we are greeted by these two screen arrangement over here, which has now become a staple with all BMW cars. It's a properly curved screen. As you can see, it's not like an angled thing from the middle, and which sort of showcases the curved screen interface. It is a properly curved screen. We've got this square shaped steering wheel, which is quite reminiscent of the i8 supercar that was launched about a decade or perhaps a decade and a half ago. Flat on the top, flat at the bottom, feels pretty sporty to hold. It's got this thick thumb grips over here. And the new iDrive Professional is something to talk a lot about. Let's just start this car. And to keep everything in conscience, I've got the efficient mode active, and as you can see, in the next 36%, I've got a range of about 226. So if I take about 200 kilometers of range and about 33% battery, that tells that this can do about 600 kilometers on a full charge. Anyway, coming back to the design elements, apart from how we saw in the BMW i5 previously, you do have physical controls for the air conditioning vents, and these are properly angleable or adjustable. Angleable is a word. Basically, you sort of angle the airflow towards yourself. This is a much easier interface to use, but once you get used to the one in the i5, it's pretty easy as well. You get this very pretty looking wooden interface over here. You've got haptic feedback buttons, which I don't know how they work, but they're pretty good to use. I mean, you go to your mode setting, you've got your personal, which is other name of individual, sport, efficient is the Eco Pro, expressive, relaxed, digital art, and silent. Silent basically cuts off everything. It's like a proper D&D mode, which is not available in IC cars. Just by the way, this is only in the electric cars from BMW. Now you've got these nice crystally gear selector over here. You've got a nice glass embedded start stop button. You've got these nice crystals for your iDrive rotor as well, and for the volume rotor as well. And luckily you've got a good amount of space at the bottom, perhaps 2 cup holders and a place to wirelessly charge your mobile phone. You've got 2 USB ports as well. These are USB-Cs, and you've got the 12-volt socket to put in your accessories or high capacity charging. You also have quite a lot of space over here to keep your handbag or anything which you need quick access to, and a pretty sizable armrest over here which has quite a huge storage. I can perhaps put that much of my hand into it. You can fit a infant inside it and it won't complain. It's like an infant seat with a openable top. Too dark. These seats are brilliant. Although these are for leather seats, I do miss the good old Napa leather seats, which were pretty brilliant. This car has done about 12,000 kilometers, and you can already see that these have started to hump in a little bit. You have butt cheek creases on top of the seats. These do have quite a long extension for the under thigh support, and pretty supportive seats. Also get massage function, as you can see over here. If I click on the seats menu, it goes to the seats, and you have 4 programs of massage. It's activation, relaxation, revitalization, and invigoration. What does invigoration do? I don't know. Probably go up and down. Invigorating indeed. Now otherwise, the iDrive control is pretty brilliant to use. It's very smooth. All the apps work perfectly fine. It's not very confusing after you use it for a week or so. You get used to it. It's pretty brilliant. Perhaps not the best thing for very old people or your parents to get used to, because there are too many things and too many features going on inside this infotainment display. I should just stop the massage because it's something which might hamper me. Make a nice video for you, ladies and gentlemen. Now over here you've got the beautifully soft door card with faux leather again. Got soft armrest over here, and these nice window switches which also are glass embedded. You got your door opening button over here. This door opens up electronically. Just in case the battery dies, you have a mechanical lever over here as well, right above the bottle holder. And otherwise you've got your light controls over here, your rear view mirror over here, and a vanity mirror for your lady or yourself. if you're sitting in the passenger seat. It's also there in the driver's seat, that someone has perhaps cracked. Now, we're done talking about the front row of the iX. Let's get the back and talk to you about the main business end of most of the buyers for this car. Now, here at the back, things are pretty good. I'm about 5 feet 8 inches tall, and there's quite a lot of space over here. You've got this large window area which does creep in quite a lot of light. You've got this massive sunroof as well, which has a translucent system, does not have a physical cloth shutter to cut away the light, so it'll be pretty light over here. You can't just make it dark and dingy, neither do you have those slidable side curtains, which is a miss, but otherwise the space situation is pretty good. This seat is adjusted as for my driving style, and I've got tons of knee room, great amount of headroom as well, and the underthigh support is pretty brilliant as well. As you can see, we've got a dual zone climate control system for the back, so you've got a quad zone climate control system all in all, and pretty sizable place as well. You can sit like this if you want to, and because there is a flat floor, let me just put it down there, because you've got a flat floor, it's very easy for the fifth passenger to sit in between as well and put their foot under the central tunnel. And even still, I've got tons of headroom. This is a very, very comfortable central seat indeed. But otherwise, the seats at the side are pretty comfortable. You've got air conditioning vents on the B pillar, you've got air conditioning vents over here. The seats are nice and airy, and the only thing perhaps missing in the back seat is the seat heating, which should have been there as a standard fitment, considering it gets quite cold north of our country. That's about it about the seat. Oh yes, also you've got this nice padding on the side of the seats, which is typical BMW. So yeah, that's about it about the seating situation at the back. Let's get behind the wheel again and talk to you more about how the iX feels to drive slowly. Now, how's the BMW iX to drive within the city limits? It's absolutely brilliant. It's one of the most comfortable luxury cars that you can buy at about 1.4 crore rupees with all the bells and whistles. It's just so brilliant. The seats are nice and comfortable. The environment of the driver and the passengers is pretty nice. It's less cluttered. You've got minimalist button situation over here, which might take some time to learn, but it just works perfectly fine. Now, there's certain things that I would want to clarify to the ladies and gentlemen who are watching this. A lot of my friends on social media groups have been saying, oh, this car is perhaps as big as the X1 or the X3 of yesteryears. It doesn't look very bulky, it doesn't look very big in size, so we sort of rejected it. Let me tell you, this is perhaps as big or probably bigger than the current generation G09 X5 that's on sale. It's about 5 meters long and 2.2 meters wide, with the wing mirrors opened up, which is quite wide. To be honest, this is probably the widest car in its class right now. It's perhaps as wide as a Range Rover Vogue Autobiography, which makes it quite wide, and that sort of accommodates a lot of large size passengers pretty nicely, and which I absolutely love. This is no small car. This is a massive car to drive around in the city, so you might feel a little claustrophobic doing your narrow lane maneuvers. Let's say you're going to Greater Clash on a Sunday, you're trying to find a parking. That's going to be quite a hassle. Otherwise, this is a very comfortable car to drive. I'm living in the corner of New Delhi, and the roads here are pretty wide, so I don't have that sort of a problem. But once you go towards South Delhi or even North Delhi, you will be facing quite a lot of challenge, because this car is huge. Now, there are no problems much that I want to speak about. It's just that all of the ecosystems in this car, especially the new iDrive Professional, takes quite a bit of learning, and once you learn it, it becomes one of the most easiest multimedia interfaces to use. Of course, Mercedes's MBUX is quite brilliant, and it's much simpler than this car, and the touchscreen is also much more in access to what this has over here. I'm 5 feet 8 inches tall, and the touchscreen is a little far off for my liking, but I use this rotary dial over here to make use of all the functions on the car. Also, the ground clearance is also nice and high, so you don't face a lot of problems or challenges going over potholes or large speed bumps. Because of the longer wheelbase and a lower battery, cars from Mercedes Benz and Audi specifically, they face a lot of challenges going over some bad patches, and they scrape their underbelly quite a bit, even though they are SUVs. But BMW has engineered them really well. Of course, we have a higher floor for the passengers and the driver, which means sometimes you do sit knees up if you are too tall, perhaps 6 foot 3 inches tall. But otherwise, it's a very comfortable cabin. It just feels very, very plush, very relaxing to drive. Nicely integrated everything. And I just love that I can see through the rear view mirror. There are no blind spots whatsoever. There's large windows, large glass areas, massive sunroof right above me, which makes for a great, great situation on the inside.
After living with the iX for many days, I realize how minimalist interior design helps make my life very, very easy. There are certain elements like this mobile phone holder near the iDrive control is so wonderfully placed and so accessible. The washer fluid is supposed to go under the BMW logo on the hood. What a wonderful placement! Very smartly done. And the most significant thing is that the iX drives really well. In the days of heavyweights, this is a good car to drive.
So, what's my final verdict on the BMW iX xDrive 50, which we have over here? This is one of the most compelling choices if you're looking for a nice electric luxury SUV. There have a lot of competitions in the market right now. You've got the likes of the EQS, the EQE. Now comes the Audi Q8 e-tron. Perhaps Volvo is also coming up with the EX90 in quite a short time. But nothing compares to the BMW in terms of dynamics and real life range, is what I've observed and tested through these months and years ever since I started driving luxury electric cars. BMW is claiming about 623 kilometers of range. You get roughly 600 kilometers of range if you drive this car judiciously, and especially when it's super cold like how it is these days and I don't use a lot of air conditioning. To achieve that range is a very, very easy exercise. And the way this car brakes while you want to anchor down all the power is also very impressive. The power delivery, the creature comforts, the ergonomics, and the less complex packaging of BMW's setup over here is something that allures me too much. And I think there is a reason why this has been a very popular choice for the Indian elite. Thank you for watching.